Contestant number one, Michael Desiderio, commit to the vaccine, commit to the vaccine, Michael Desiderio.
Mr. Contest Chair, fellow Toastmasters, and those of you wondering why would a contest speaker select a polarizing topic? Maybe I'm not that bright. I see some of you shaking your head in agreement. If you're going to do that, at least mute your camera, be respectful. Maybe it is that, or maybe my topic isn't that polarizing. We'll find out. Mr. Contest Chair, Toastmasters, and all of you out there, I'm going to ask you right now to join me in an exercise. I want you to close your eyes, all of you except the timers, close your eyes, and I want you to focus on the darkness. Now, you may see some residual light, but focus on the darkness. Open your eyes. I think this is analogous to the dark veil that has engulfed our world for the past year. You're thinking, Michael, have you been paying attention? There's lots of reasons for that darkness. I agree. Global pandemic, racial and social injustice and inequities, political unrest in this country like I've never seen. All of this controversy has led to massive polarization, and polarization leads to more darkness. Unfortunately, when there's darkness, hope diminishes. And when hope diminishes, optimism fades. And when optimism fades, hope diminishes, and the cycle continues. I'm not convinced we can find long-term lasting solutions to complex problems operating from a place of polarization and fear and anger when hope has been diminished. Why? I've been asking myself. It seems that there's been a collective loss of gratitude in society. Oh, there's exceptions, of course, but it seems like many are more interested in being right than being grateful, more interested in canceling someone than being grateful, more interested in being so angry they can't hear another viewpoint than being grateful. Now, I'm not suggesting if we all walk around and say, thank you, thank you, thank you, all the problems of the world go away. I'm not suggesting that at all. But gratitude has power. It can spark hope and optimism. Gratitude is very interesting, though. Gratitude is one of those things when you get that big birthday present, it's easy to find. When you earn that job promotion, it's easy to feel. Gratitude isn't very easy to find in the dark moments, in the painful moments. And that's when we need it the most. Let me give you a personal example. Several years ago, my mom passed away. I cherished my mom like you cherish your parents. When my mom passed, I didn't just lose a mom. I lost a friend, a confidant, a cheerleader. And there was a pain that was hard to express and a darkness that was hard to share. Now, people will say that time heals all wounds. I don't think that's true. Gratitude heals all wounds. If time healed all wounds, then those of us with people in our lives that have been in pain for decades, that won't let go of some kind of grudge, time never got rid of it because they could never find gratitude. See, I found gratitude. That's what allowed me to move on with hope and optimism, even though my mom wasn't here. It filled me with warmth, knowing that she was once here to hug me. I remembered the times that we laughed about the goofy things, the time she was willing to believe in me when nobody else would. Gratitude has impact, which brings me to this idea of asking you to commit to the vaccine. Now, I want to be clear. I'm not talking about the COVID vaccine or the flu vaccine. I'm talking about the vaccine of gratitude. And gratitude is very much like a vaccine. See, the COVID vaccine doesn't cure COVID. It builds up our immunity, which allows us to move forward with less fear. The flu vaccine doesn't cure the flu. It allows us to be stronger so that we can move forward with hope and optimism that we can live our life. That's true with the gratitude vaccine. See, the gratitude vaccine isn't going to cure or solve racial injustice, but the gratitude vaccine is an inoculation against fear, an inoculation against deep anger. Oh, try to feel deeply angry and grateful at the same time. Oh, you try really hard, you can do it. But those two things don't like to live in the same space. Show me a person who is angry all of the time And I'll show you a person who isn't grateful most of the time. Now, there's something else about these vaccines that we need to know. See, the medical vaccines differ from the gratitude vaccine in this way. Maybe you get the polio vaccine once in your lifetime, maybe the flu vaccine every year, the COVID vaccine 2 or 3 times a year. The gratitude vaccine doesn't have the impact we need it to if you get it once or twice or 3 times a year. We need to reach for the gratitude vaccine every single day. And in those moments of pain, in those moments of darkness, that's when it's hardest to find. That's when we need it the most. And that's why we have to dig for it. We have to search for it. We have to pull it up and embrace it because it has real power. Now, here's another place where the gratitude vaccine and medical vaccines differ. So the polio vaccine and the flu vaccine and the COVID vaccine, some of you out there might be going, Michael, I don't get vaccines. There's side effects. I have underlying health conditions, all of these things. I'm not touching them. And I don't disagree or agree with you on either of those. That's your decision. But the gratitude vaccine has no negative side effects. And because of that, it's for every single one of us. Ladies and gentlemen, we have an opportunity to find long-term, lasting solutions to difficult problems. We can't do it from a place of polarization and anger and fear. Gratitude sparks hope. Gratitude sparks optimism. And hope and optimism lift the darkness. Hope and optimism allow us to sense that light, and it does something more. We can now see the light. Together, we can have a real impact. So I'm going to ask you, I'm going to implore you, whether you're sitting at home, you're sitting in a ballroom, wherever you may be on this planet right now watching this, I implore you, commit to the vaccine called gratitude. Mr. Contest Chair.
Contestant number 2, Helen Chapman, stepping into the unknown. Stepping into the unknown, Helen Chapman.
There is this quote that has always resonated with me. A simple paragraph that spoke so deeply with me that it would eventually pull me out of a darkness I was forced to endure. It reads, when you walk to the edge of all the light that you have and you take that first step into the darkness of the unknown, you must believe that one of 2 things will happen. There will be something solid for you to stand upon, or you'll be taught to fly. Good afternoon, contest chair, fellow Toastmasters, and honorary dignitaries. Close your eyes. Recall for me the worst day of your life. I can feel your heart pounding, your breath quicken. For me, the worst day of my life happened March 3rd, 1991. At 19, stupid and naive, I fell in love, I got engaged, and I became pregnant. At 20, I would give birth to a beautiful, stillborn baby boy named Nicholas Anthony. The day had happened like any other day. I awoke tired and groggy, but remember sitting up in the bed and awaiting his good morning kick. It never came. And I rationalized that he, like his mother, loved his sleep, and so I carried on. But a maternal instinct that had slowly developed over the course of 9 months kicked into gear, and I knew my child was in trouble. Something wasn't right, and so I asked my mother to drive me to the hospital. I was greeted by a female nurse in pink scrubs, and I recall thinking how her kind eyes and her warm smile were such a surprising juxtaposition to the tight, severe bun that she wore in her hair. After a few minutes in triage, I was given a room of my own, and I remember grabbing my stomach and willingly shaking it as though to rouse him from his slumber, and I whispered, "Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up." It would be moments later that I learned the worst truth of my life. My son was no longer alive. Somewhere between the cravings the night before for pickles and a ham sandwich, and now as I stare at this grainy sonogram image of my baby lying still, he had closed his eyes for one final sleep. At 41 weeks, my son died in utero due to complications unknown. In that moment, I felt the world around me darken. When you walk to the edge of all the light that you have and you take that first step into the darkness of the unknown, began to echo loudly in my mind. My obstetrician was a young female doctor with green eyes and perfect long blonde hair. And her calm collectiveness infuriated me, going through the medical procedures like she was textbook taught while my life, my dreams were slowly falling around me. How many other grieving mothers had also deemed her the villain? She ordered the epidural to numb me from the waist down, and along with the injection of Pitocin to induce contractions, several hours later, Nicholas Anthony was born. My family all gathered in the room, and each person took turns holding this 9-pound little creature who remained silent and still in their arms. His head a wave of soft, curly black hair that he got from my mother. His mouth beautifully heart-shaped that he got from my sister. I know he would have had the fire and the passion that I see in his eyes. But his eyes, perfectly almond, would have been a shade of brown that would have danced when he smiled, changed through a spectrum of chestnut, cinnamon, and hazel, just to keep you guessing, just like his mom. I held my baby boy. I kissed his forehead. I whispered I loved him and that I was sorry. And after hours that felt like a single second, they took my child away. You must believe that one of two things will happen. How does someone recover from this? How did you survive? I shut myself in my room and I spent a lot of time lying on the floor. And I remember thinking that on the floor, I couldn't fall any farther. Surprisingly, the floor gave me comfort. It provided me solace. It kept me grounded. There will be something solid for you to stand upon. At the time of Nikki's death, I let go of all of who I was and why I am here. I turned my back on faith and religion, cursing God that he was cruel and unrelenting. But over time, that anger gave way to forgiveness. And I forgave the universe for wreaking havoc on unsuspecting people's lives. I forgave my family and friends for mourning Nikki's death in their own way. And more importantly, I forgave myself. I let go of that gnawing feeling that I was somehow responsible for his death. It wasn't the fall that I had taken the months prior, or that Peruvian meal I had tried and hated for the first time. And it wasn't the anxious thoughts that surfaced every now and then, wondering, would I be a good mother? It just was a statement left unanswered. You will be taught to fly. Today, I am a mother of a 28-year-old daughter, and she is my world. She is what was meant to be, not as the replacement, but as the purpose, as the reason to go on. I learned how to survive because I had the love and support of my family to stand on. Strength I didn't know I had was born from Nikki's death. Strength I needed when we lowered that 20-inch ivory casket into the ground. Strength that would eventually carry me into 2011 when an emergency hysterectomy rendered all hope of ever bearing children after the age of 30. I called on that strength in 2015 when the word divorce threatened my marriage, and most recently in 2020 when the word cancer left my doctor's lips like a cruel joke that wasn't funny. So I ask you, fellow Toastmasters, close your eyes one more time. Recall that day in your history. I can hear your breath quicken, and I can feel your heart beating. But when you came to the edge of the light of all that you had, and you took that first step into the darkness, what got you through? A solid ground from which to stand on? Or did you learn to fly? Thank you.
Contestant number 3, Serban Mare. It's hard to take it easy. It's hard to take it easy. Serban Mare.
7 years ago, I met this incredible woman while I was hiking Paesqua Peak. And as we're hiking down the mountain, I was getting more and more excited as we're able to talk about anything and everything. It was just this incredible conversation. I couldn't believe it. At one point, she tells me, I'm a runner. I love running. I hate running. It's too hard. Clearly, a match made in heaven. But at that stage in my life, taking things easy for me was, well, easy. Mr. Contest Chair, fellow Toastmasters, honored guests, has this ever happened to you, where you reach a point in your life where you feel like you've worked hard enough, you've made it, so you decide to take things easy, become comfortable, a little too comfortable? This is exactly what happened to me last year when the pandemic hit. I was fortunate enough that I was able to work from right here from home, which meant that I did not have to drive to work and back anymore for an hour and a half. So I slept in, easy. Gyms got closed, so I stopped working out, easy. I didn't have to pack my lunch anymore, so I started packing on some pounds, quite easy. And if you're like me, you too have watched way more TV than you're willing to admit, always choosing the easy way, the comfortable way. And as months went by, I remember at one point being outside playing with my nephews. We were playing superheroes. And as I'm flying around chasing them for 10 minutes, all of a sudden, I'm feeling lightheaded, dizzy, like the Hulk just hit me. And as I stood up, I saw my reflection in the mirror. And I did not like what I saw. Beads of sweat were falling down my forehead. I was red in the face. I've let myself go. A year before, I was hiking the Grand Canyon, and now I become comfortable, complacent, lazy. And at that point, I realized it wasn't easy anymore. It was hard to take it easy. And as I was looking at my nephews, I remembered way, way back in the day when my parents took me to the countryside to see my grandma and help them farm potatoes. I hate farming potatoes. It's hard. All the physical exhaustion, the long hours, the dirt, the manure. I didn't want to be there. I didn't want to put in the work. Tom and Jerry were on, and I had to. I had to find out if Tom catches Jerry. Nevertheless, my parents had me do the work. And I remember that year going to my mom and saying, Ma, I'm hungry. Make me food. My mom gave me the death stare, and I knew I missed something. And I said, please. She then walked me to the pantry and asked me to look inside and said, sweetheart, do you see this big pile of potatoes? It is because of your hard work that we have food now. I know, honey, it was hard back then, but we are so better off now. I looked in awe at the sack of potatoes and thought to myself, wow, I did that. That's pretty cool. Wasn't that hard? Then I looked at my mom and I said, I want smashed potatoes, please. You see, at that age, I did not understand what my mom was trying to teach me. But as I came back to the present, I knew exactly what she was trying to say. It is not by taking things easy, by being comfortable, that we get to have a better future, but rather doing hard things every single day. That could be waking up 30 minutes early, go on a walk or exercise. I know that's hard. Or put down that phone and social media and be more present with your family or your friends. That's hard. Or turn off that TV and focus on the things that you're passionate about, the things that excite you, like practicing your Toastmaster speech. Commit yourself for doing hard things every single day. Jim Rome said, don't wish life was easy, wish you were better. Don't wish life was easy. Wish you were better. It is up to us to choose to do the hard things today so that we have a better tomorrow. That woman that I met on the mountain, even though it was hard, I did run after her, literally and figuratively. And because of it, I married her. That's right. And that night I was playing with my nephews, my wife and we went home and we chose hard. We decided to sign up for a full marathon. That's right, a full 24.2 miles. And every time we run and train, it sucks. It's still hard. Nevertheless, the feeling that I get from doing something difficult, from doing something challenging, that feeling is intoxicating. And even after a few months of training, I can already tell my health is better. My mind is clearer. My marriage is stronger. And my spirits are higher. And today, just like my wife, I too can say that I love running because I've learned that being fulfilled in life is easy when you choose hard. How about you, my friends? Are you choosing the easy way, the comfortable way? Or are you doing something hard every single day so that you do have a better tomorrow? Because when winter comes, we all want the same thing. Smash potato, smash potato. Mr. Contest Chair.
Contestant number 5, Sue Fong, Habits Matter. Habits Matter, Sue Fong.
My first language is Korean. I learned English as a second language through textbooks in school. However, when you learn English in school, they don't teach you the colorful language, such as certain 4-letter words. I was pure and naive speaking English, using the words only from the textbooks until I started living in the States 20 years ago. All of a sudden, I was bombarded with the colorful swearing words from TV, people around me, and on the streets. Then I learned how to use them and when to use them. I wanted to fit in, and I thought using the swear words would help me become immersed in the American culture. I may have overdone it though, because I started using the swear words consciously, subconsciously, and unconsciously. I felt I really was a part of mainstream society. Using the swear words became what James Clear calls my atomic habits. They are bad habits that repeat themselves again and again, not because you don't want to change, but because you have the wrong system for change. I even use the swear words with my husband. However, using the swear words with my husband made us laugh all the time because we never use them in an offensive way. That was putting ourselves in the wrong system for change because the atomic habits of using the swear words became so commonplace that I started using them at work. Can you imagine someone who looks naive using the swear words with an accent in a meeting? That was embarrassingly hilarious. One day, I dropped the F-bomb at work, but luckily, no one heard but me. That night, I talked to my husband about the incident I had at work. Then we came up with a brilliant idea to change our habit. Whoever drops the F-bomb would pay $1 to the other person. And we started paying the fine 3 years ago. In hindsight, we should have invested that fine into Bitcoin. We paid the fine, but the system wasn't working. One way to change your habit is to replace it with a new one. And that's what we did. We still use a 4-letter F word, but not the F word. Instead, we use Fong, F-O-N-G, our last name. Now, "Oh, Fong!" is yelled in frustration at myself or my husband. Instead of being offended, it often leads to laughter. This change seemed very small in the beginning, but it has compounded into remarkable results. These days, we rarely pay $1 to the other person, and our home became the swear word free zone. Habit is a daily choice. If you want continuous improvement, you have to make a daily commitment. I'm now working on breaking another daily habit, comparing myself to other people. I used to ask my husband a lot, "Honey, do I look skinnier or younger than the woman on TV?" For a while, he played a good husband and gave me the right answer I was seeking. Then one day, he became so irritated and yelled, "Stop comparing yourself to other people. You're always beautiful to me." That was an aha moment. When I focus on only how I'm doing compared to other people, anger, jealousy, frustration never stopped because there was always people who were better than me. Then I thought, if I can change my swearing habit, then I can change my comparison mindset as well. Now, I still compare myself, but only to who I was yesterday. I don't focus on what other people achieve. I only focus on what I wish to become. We all know that old habits die hard. I wanted to fit into society when I started using the swear words. I compared myself to other people because growing up, I never felt approval. However, I changed these stumbling block habits into building block habits by changing the system through daily commitment. I now realize that using the swear words doesn't make me fit in. So I use Fong more often with my husband, and we laugh all the time. I'm also becoming a better version of myself every day because I compare myself to who I was yesterday. Contest chair, fellow Toastmasters, and guests, habits matter. But the real reason habits matter is not because they can get you better results, although they can do that, but because they can change your beliefs about yourself. Are your habits stumbling block in your life? What about replacing them into building block habits? Don't let your bad habits hijack your life. Let's get to work. Now, it's time to stop fonging around. Contest chair.
Contestant number 6, Marty LaMar, finding a sense of joy. Finding a sense of joy, Marty LaMar.
Imagine 2 little girls on a hot summer day. Both of them are in swimsuits, but only one is wearing a life jacket. The girl in the life jacket begs her little friend to go down to the boat dock at the river. It's such fun hanging onto the dock by their fingers, kicking and splashing in the water. All of a sudden, the dock isn't there. The current has pulled them into the river. Gasping, bobbing, struggling, fighting the darkness under the water, the little girl without the life jacket is overcome with a helpless feeling as she frantically tries to reach for her little friend. Mr. Contest Chair, fellow Toastmasters, and guests, I was that little girl without the life jacket. Fortunately, some fishermen were there to fish us out. but the memory of that day has stayed with me all my life. Have you ever had a loss that left you struggling, fighting the darkness, overcome with a helpless feeling? The sudden death of my husband brought back that near drowning incident. As grief washed over me, I felt as if I were back in that swiftly moving current and fighting that same helpless feeling. The fisherman saved me once, I thought. What will save me now? My rescue this time came in the form of gratitude. If you look up the meaning of gratitude, you see thankfulness, appreciation, acknowledgement. What gratitude did to change me is much more profound than any of those definitions. In the midst of my grief, I realized Christmas was coming. It was a time I could show my appreciation to everyone who had shown me kindness. I started baking cookies. I baked and I baked. I gave away so many gift bags of cookies, but there were so many left. I gathered up all of my leftover bags and drove to the local food bank. People were outside, rummaging through boxes and boxes of donated food. As I looked at the crowd, I saw so many in my age group. I interrupted one of them. I just baked too many cookies. Would you take a bag? She called to the others, cookies! I was overwhelmed and soon empty-handed. As I walked back to my car, I had such a sudden sense of joy. I wanted to twirl and spin. I laughed for the first time in months. What did I have to worry about? I had plenty to eat. And just as sudden, I felt a deep gratitude for everything I had. In her book, The Language of Letting Go, Melody Beattie wrote, "Gratitude is the alchemy that turns what we have into enough. Denial into acceptance. Confusion into clarity. The gratitude that came with that cookie giving was the alchemy for changing the way I would start to feel. I had written in my journal, I feel so helpless. I'm struggling. I feel so alone. As my awareness grew for all that I was grateful, the entries changed. I began to write, I am being helped. I'm being shown the way. I feel a loving spirit surrounding me. Are you aware? Gratitude is big business on the internet. You can plaster your walls with oodles of quotes offered to help you stay in gratitude. You can choose from 100 books on the subject. I don't need any of those reminders. Gratitude buoyed me up and showed me I wasn't helpless. Gratitude helped me swim against a current of sadness. Gratitude kept me from drowning in self-pity. And through gratitude, I found a sense of joy. Mr. Contest Chair.
Contestant number 7, Marcy Ortiz. If it's not one thing, it's your mother. If it's not one thing, it's your mother. Marcy Ortiz.
I am free. Our sons are finishing up high school. I enrolled in a master's degree program to embark on the second half of my career. All my plans came to a screeching halt. My mother is ill and she needs my help. This is the epitome of the sandwich generation. I am one of them, and this is my story. Honorable contest chair, fellow Toastmasters, and most welcome guests. I didn't sign up to care for a parent. I wasn't even 50 yet. The sandwich generation is a common term used when you're caught between caring for children and caring for a parent at the same time. Lucky for me, I always had support when caring for my mother. My husband was a true believer when it came to caring for my mother. He even had his own saying, if it's not one thing, it's your mother. It was the perfect saying because it was always something with my mom. My mom married young. This is my mom and my dad on their wedding day. 3 kids followed quickly after. I have an older sister. I'm the middle child, and I have a younger brother. We're all about a year and a few months apart. We were a handful. When we were in grade school, unfortunately, my parents divorced. As we grew up, Mom developed late onset mental illness, and we didn't even notice it until it became severe. It was some type of schizophrenia. When we became adults, that's when we noticed her behavior became very erratic. During her lifetime, she was homeless 2 different times. And during these episodes of homelessness, I worried about her all the time. We never knew where she really was. The last major event my mom attended was my high school graduation. After that, she missed my college graduation, my wedding, both of my sons' births. She missed everything. All I wanted was to have her in my life, and that just wasn't going to happen. Because of her schizophrenia and hearing voices, she felt it was bad karma to be around those she loved, and so she chose to stay away. She also chose not to take medication, and she chose not to live with any of her children. What makes matters worse for those with schizophrenia is their high incidence of substance abuse. Half of schizophrenics will be taking some kind of drugs and or alcohol, and 75 to 90% will be smoking cigarettes. That's 3 times higher than the general population. And why do they do this? It's a way for them to cope and try and manage their disease. Smoking is what caught up with my mom. She ended up with COPD, and she was on oxygen 24/7. She had a simple hospital stay that turned into living at a group home for her higher level of care. And that's when I became her advocate. As her advocate, I'm the one who found her that group home. I arranged all of her doctor's visits, took her to those doctor visits, and I also took care of her medication. It was incredibly difficult dealing with someone like my mom who has mental illness, but also has limited financial resources. My advice to you when caring for a loved one is embrace the opportunity. And it is an opportunity for you to become closer to that parent or loved one. I became a lot closer to my mom during those last few years. I even have good memories from that period. Oh, it's the simple things, really. I would pick up Chinese food and take it over to my mom, and we would share lunch. Or we would walk around her garden-like backyard. It was so pretty and peaceful. Sometimes we would just veg and watch Gunsmoke reruns. Oh, how she loved her Gunsmoke reruns. Mostly, we just talked. One particular deep conversation we had, Mom was saying, I'm done with life. At 72, I feel old. And besides, I've had a good life. Whoa, wait, hold on, Mom. You feel you've had a good life? Well, sure, I've had a good life. I had you 3 kids, watched you grow up. Look, you're successful adults with families of your own. And now you're with me here today. That's a good life. Never in a million years would I have guessed she thought that. From my perspective, I would have defined her life as many things, but it certainly would not have been a good life. That little tidbit of information, after all these years, it gives me peace. Then it gave me peace for my mom, the fact that she had a life that was well lived. Later that year, we knew Mom didn't have long. By Thanksgiving, she was on hospice care, and she ended up dying on an early December morning on my husband's birthday. I could not believe it. What are the chances of that? My husband, he took it all in stride, shrugged his shoulders, and said, hey, if it's not one thing, it's your mother. Mr. Contest Chair,